Group 6, and we're here to discuss about our topic, which is victimology. The most important for us is for you guys to learn in this lesson about what is the meaning and main point of the word victimology. We want to share knowledge, studies, and expand it to reach your minds because there's something more to discover about it. Now, we're going to proceed with the question of what is victimology. As victimology is the study about victims of crime. It deals with the underlying factor of victimization and the contributory role of the victim in the commission of crime. So it explains how an individual become a victim, and from the word contributory role, what that person did to be involved in that certain crime. For the second one is victimology, being the study of crime targets, show that the person become a victim of crime consciously and unconsciously. It simply says that we can become a victim knowingly and unknowingly because of our own actions or doings. For example, you are just walking on the side of the road and then a group of people in the van kidnap you, and we all know that kidnapping is a famous crime until now, and that's when you become a victim unconsciously. Another example is when you are experiencing extreme poverty, that you are thinking to take an illegal job to earn money for your family, and that's when you become a victim of poverty consciously. In the note, it says the victim of crime often becomes a forgotten person of the criminal justice system, while the criminal is the celebrity. We often witness a crime when there will focuses on the criminal because he or she is the one who will get judged or give sentence to his crime.
Now, let's proceed to another typology of criminal victims as general classes of victims. The first one is the young, the weak by age and immaturity. Most of the victims came from the young one. They are the most abused one because of their immaturity. Number 2, the female, often less physical, powerful, and easily dominated by males. Many of men are abusive when it comes to women. They do not know what is the consequences after hurting a woman. We all know that women is the most important and powerful in this world. They are the one who give birth. Number 3, the old, the incapable of physical defense and the everyday object of confidence scheme. They are the most likely the pitiful one because if someone tried to hurt them, they are not able to fight against the criminal because of their capacity, nor the capacity of their body due to their age. Number 4, the mentally defective are those that are unable to think clearly. In this type of victims, they are the most affected because when the criminal hurt them, they are most likely not in a good condition when it comes to thinking. They don't know how to self-defense against them. Number 5, the immigrant are those that are unsure of the rules of conduct in the surrounding society. Just for example, a foreigner go to Philippines just to work. They are not aware of the laws because they are just want to work, and others take advantage of them because they are foreigners in the Philippines. We all know that many of the Filipinos are wise one. Number 6, the minorities. Racial prejudice may lead to victimization or unequal treatment by the agency of justice. Most minors are exploited by criminals and they are not given equal treatment when it comes to justice. And most of the minors don't have enough knowledge about justice.
Psychological types of victims. Number 1, the depressed. Submissive person by the emotional condition. The most liked type of victim is the depressive type, who was seen as an easy target, careless and unsuspecting. The greedy type was seen as easily duped because his or her motivation for easy gain lowered his or her natural tendency to be suspicious. Acquisitive or greedy. Acquisitive or greedy refers to a strong desire to acquire or possess more than one needs, often at the expense of others or without regard to ethical considerations. It implies an excessive or insatiable desire for material possessions, wealth, or resources. This trait can be observed in various contexts such as personal behavior, business practices, or societal dynamics. It's important to note that the interpretation of these terms may vary based on individual perspectives and cultural norms. An example of an acquisitive or greedy behavior could be a business executive who, in pursuit of personal wealth, engage in unethical practices like exploiting employees, evading taxes, or manipulating financial system to maximize profits and the expense of fairness and legality. This behavior is characterized by an excessive desire for financial gain without considering the broader ethical implications. The wanton or overly sensual. Wanton refers to being unrestrained, undisciplined, or excessive, often in a way that is considered morally or sexually unrestrained. An example of someone being overly sensual or wanton might be a person who engages in indulgent or hedonistic behavior without regard for social norms or ethical considerations, particularly in the context of sensual or sexual experiences. This term often implies a lack of restraint or discretion. The lonesome. Lonesome refers to a state of being alone, solitary, or feeling a deep sense of loneliness. It describes the emotional experience of being without companionship or feeling isolated. People may feel lonesome for various reasons, and is often associated with a sense of longing for social and connection or meaningful relationship. An example of feeling lonesome might be a person spending a quiet evening at home, realizing that they haven't interacted with friends or family for an extended period. Despite being physically alone, the emotional sense of isolation and the desire for companionship contribute to the feeling of lonesomeness. It's a subjective experience and can be very based on individual circumstances and emotional states. Heartbroken. Heartbroken describes a deep and intense emotional pain or distress, typically resulting from the end of a romantic relationship, the loss of loved one, or significant betrayal. It signifies a profound sense of sadness, grief, and emotional anguish that can be physically and mentally distressing. People experiencing heartbreak may feel a range of emotions, including sadness, despair, and sense of emptiness due to the emotional bonds that have been severed or disrupted. The tormented. Tormented refers to experiencing severe mental or emotional anguish, often characterized by intense suffering or distress. This term can be applied to various situations, such as enduring psychological pain, grappling with internal conflicts, or going through a period of deep emotional turmoil. People may feel tormented in response to a range of challenges, including personal struggles, traumatic experiences, or overwhelming stressors. It's a state of profound emotional torment or mental anguish.
Here are the other types of victims. Number 1. Victims with only minor guilt and those victimized due to ignorance. There are two types of victims. Victims with only minor guilt. These are individuals who may have some responsibility or involvement in the incident but their contribution is considered minimal. For example, victimization occurs when someone unknowingly finds themselves in a dangerous situation or unintentionally commits a crime, leading to guilt or blame, but their actions are relatively minor compared to the perpetrators and those victimized due to ignorance. Victims are those who lack knowledge or awareness about potential dangers, making them more susceptible to harm or wrongdoing. Ignorance, lack of specific knowledge or understanding can lead to a victim falling victim to a scam or fraud, rather than judging the victim's intelligence or character. Number 2, the victim is just as guilty as the offender and the voluntary victim. Ignorance. A lack of specific knowledge or understanding can lead to a victim falling victim to a scam or fraud rather than judging the victim's intelligence or character. Number 3, the victim more guilty than the offender. The victim more guilty than the offender is a harmful and misguided beliefs that suggest that the person who was harmed or victimized holds more responsibility or blame than the person who caused the harm. This statement is often used to shift blame away from the offender and place it on the victim, which is both unfair and unjust. Number 4, the most guilty victim who is guilty alone. The statement, the most guilty victim who is guilty alone, suggests that there are other types of victims who may also bear some responsibility or guilt for the situation they find themselves in. Victims' guilt levels vary based on circumstances, with some being guilty alone due to their actions or lack thereof, indicating that their guilt may be influenced by their circumstances. Number 5, the imaginary victim. The imaginary victims is individuals who experience invisible or hidden forms of abuse or discrimination. For example, people who encounter emotional abuse, gaslighting, or microaggressions may have their experiences invalidated or downplayed, since the harm they face is not visible or tangible. Due to the lack of physical evidence, their victimhood can be easily dismissed or disregarded.
For the last one is victimology, as well as the concept of penal couple. The penal couple is a term that describes the relationship between the victim and the criminal. It's just explained that we do have a penal couple, which is explained a counterpart of criminal. That if there's a word for criminal, there's a word for its crime target, which is the victim, and the word victimity, which signified the opposite of criminality. Another class of victims is the loser, or initially the attacker, but later, the situation changed. An example could be a mugger or a bully who ends up injured, or a swindler becomes swindled. There's a situation that the attacker could be a victim because their plan was not executed properly, because they were injured or hurt by their own plan. And that's the time that the situation changed. And that's all for our topic, victimology. I hope you learned something from us, and thank you for taking your time to listen. God bless for everyone.